Okay, so I want to start by saying I'm not a Greatsword main. Never have been, never will be. I'm just a guy that's actually pretty decent with it. The weapon is actually pretty simple once you get the hang of it. Am I saying that it's easy? No, I think it's actually a pretty difficult weapon to master. But it's an easy weapon to learn. And that's what I'm going to be showing you all today. If you want a more advanced guide, I'll be working on that shortly. Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about the basics of Greatsword. Now Greatsword to me is an easier weapon than you would think once you know the basics. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, before we get into the video, one thing you should know is that you cannot do a starter out of a starter once you dash cancel, which we'll be talking about later. Now let's get into the light attacks. Greatsword has a total of 18 light attacks, and we're going to be talking about the starters first. Side light is the best starter, D-light being the worst, but it does not mean it doesn't have its use. It has the most range out of any starter. In light is in the middle, and it's probably better to go for a lot of times than side light because it hits in the air. These moves aren't spammable, so be careful how you use them. Next, we're going to be talking about bridges. Now, D-light is the best bridge, side light being the worst, in my opinion, but it's still versatile, as I've stated before. D-light can be hit true out of side light, but you have to have the right spacing for it, as I demonstrated earlier. There it is again. Next, you have in-light, which is really good, and of course, you have side light, which is good for long strings, but only if you have the right reads. Next, we're going to be talking about finishers. Now, there are 9 different finishers on Greatsword, depending on which one you use. We're going to be talking about in-light first. Now, in-light is probably the best finisher you can go for. I'm not going to go into too much depth because they all practically look the same. And they're probably the most useful for killing in general, at least off the top. You're going to want to go for these in-light finishers. You can even gravity cancel and get an in-light finisher straight away. And it's ridiculously good just off the top. Next is side light. Now, side light finishers are pretty weird, but they're good for killing off the side, and if you can land them, they actually kill ridiculously early. The reason they're not as good as in-light is because a lot of times they're jumpable. D-light has the funkiest looking finishers of all, and probably some of the worst. Something to note is that gravity cancel D-light hits on both sides, and it's pretty good for catching your opponent off guard and knocking out. So please abuse that if you cannot find a kill with recovery. And it's probably the only time you'll ever use D-light finisher because they're all really just fucking weird. Unless you're trying to go for like style points. Next up, we're talking about the aerials. Now, Greatsword has solid aerials and you should abuse them as much as you can. Greatsword is great for juggling, like this move Nair. Look at that fucking hitbox. It's ridiculous. It can also be hit true out of Dare, which we'll get to later. But this move is fucking ridiculous. Next up, Dare. Dare reminds me of Spear Dare, and it also has a grounded variant, where you stick into the ground. Now, to be fair, it's not that useful. It can be used in strings, but I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're just starting out with the weapon. Now, next up we're going to be talking about Greatsword's best aerial move, that being Sair. Sair is a slow hitting move, but boy does it hit like a truck. It has a wide hitbox and it's pretty maneuverable in the air. Like, it's so good. Most of the time, if your opponent's off stage, you're probably going to be using this. And look at that, it fucking spikes. Next up, recovery. Now, recovery isn't good for doing what it's supposed to be, which is recovery, but it is a good killing option. It's really hard. It's actually decently fast. And it's just all around really good to go for. Most of the time, you're going to be using this out of side light to try to catch your opponent jumping to get a kill, or you're just going to be like fishing for it in general. It's really good and maneuverable, much like gauntlets. Don't use ground pound, shit sucks. Okay, maybe I'm too harsh on it. Ground pound is actually pretty good off stage, when your opponent's trying to get back on against the wall, just hit them like that. It's not the hardest hitting ground pound, and you can just do the same thing with dare, but it's still pretty good. Ground pound also has a grounded variant where if you hit close enough, the ground shakes. I genuinely don't know why it does that, but one thing to note is that you can use it in strings. Again, I wouldn't do it, but it's okay. Now we're going to be talking about dashes and dodge cancel. Now I know some of you may be staring at me like what I'm about to say is crazy, but it's actually pretty easy. All you have to do is hit your opponent, and then you dash. That's it. Hit your opponent, dash, cancel it with a light attack. That's all it is, and that's all it's ever been. It's the same thing with chase dodging. I don't understand why people think this is hard. People swear up and down this is the hardest thing to do on this weapon. It's not. Chase dodge cancel and dodge cancel is something that you probably do on the daily with other weapons and you just don't even notice. Because you can just hold back and cancel it. It's not that hard. And you can pull up long strings. They look a little bit like this. Okay, now we're going to be talking about neutral and Greatsword. Now, the best move to approach with is obviously Starlight, like I stated earlier. It's so good. If you space it right, you can get D-Light true. If not, you can get N-Light. This is probably your best starter, Greatsword's best move in general, honestly. And now we're going to get into probably what y'all have been waiting for, the dodge reads. So here you have for neutral. You have up. You have out. Dodge down. Dodge in. And of course, you have your diagonal. Greatsword is probably one of the easiest weapons to read with, in my opinion. And if you don't know how to read and get your reaction times down, go watch my reaction video. I will be extending that later on. And if you have any questions about it, just hit me up in Discord. Now, some people think that you can't hit these long strings on Greatsword. You probably shouldn't play it. It's going to be hard. If you can't land 0 to death, why bother? I suggest jump off the map right now. But I promise you, it's not the end of the world. A lot of times you can just get away with landing 3 hits. Does it look cool to land these moves? Yes. But sometimes all you need is 3. That's literally it. I promise you can get to diamond by just knowing like 1 or 2 combos and dodge reads. Because most people don't understand how to change up their dodges. With that, let me show you some gameplay with Greatsword. Hi guys, Fuel Changer here. I look pretty dumb, but I forgot to tell you all the true combos. Greatsword only has 2. You have D-Light near, like I said earlier, here's how you hit it. It's a pretty good kill combo. It hits late, and you have silent D-Light. Now, let's get into the gameplay.
3, 2,
Alright guys, it's currently 5 in the morning where I am right now. Pretty tired, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, but here we are. I'm playing Mega because 2 of the people I told should play Mega, and I think he's a really fun legend. As for the best Greatsword legend, Jayon's the best. Arcadia's really good right now. Vanguard's really good. Movie is still pretty busted at 6, but his Greatsword series did get heavily nerfed. The worst Greatsword by far is Mega simply because they cannot kill. Unlike Mega here with Hammer, just use stumps here. Approaching, they not attacks with a side leg. I'm playing a bit too close, I think. I need to back up some. But, oh well, I can barely see right now. Let's see if we get a string going here. Nope. I should have dashed there instead of chase dodging. So I will explain the difference between dash canceling and chase dodge canceling in more depth in the advanced guide. if you all want to see that. There is a difference, and it's a huge difference. And depending on what situation you're in, you're gonna want to know which one you're going to do. GCD light, as I told y'all, is really good for like killing sometimes. But I think I'm gonna die here, not paying attention to what they're doing. So if I do die here, it'll be fine. Stay with me. Let's try to get stumps here if I can. No, that wasn't there. Yep. Mild stupidity. Can't get mad at that. I should probably go ahead and kill her, but I really honestly don't know what they're gonna do. And it's here for the win. Seer is just a strong move in general. Especially on a weapon like Greatsword. It's so good to have. Okay, so one thing I am seeing myself doing a lot, mainly because I'm tired, I'm using a lot of D-lights to approach instead of side-light. D-light is not the best to approach with. It gets low to the ground, you can easily jump over it. It's absolutely avoidable that way. Unlike side-light, which you can hit kind of in the air, and it like completely negates that in general. Which is why it's the best to catch an up dodge and jump away and stuff like that. Okay. Get some hammer gameplay going real quick. I think my Greatsword was pretty okay. It gives you all a decent picture of how to play basics with Greatsword. Nothing too complicated. Not trying to be, prime sandstorm here. But just basic Greatsword is just really good. You don't need those long shots as much as you do that.
Victory! Knockout!
I want to give a big thanks to you guys for liking the video, watching all the way through. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me. Let me know what y'all want to see next. I do look at the comments all the time. I listen to my Discord, try to make sure I have everyone any way I can. Even if I personally can't help you with a weapon, I try to find someone who can. You can watch Most Knuckle, CMD, Jaws. Like, these are some of the great YouTubers that help me with some of these things. And yeah, if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel, share it, comment, do whatever. And have a nice day.
Wow!